Evening shadows lengthen at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis. On the second-floor balcony, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. laughs with colleagues, unaware of the fate that awaits him that day. In a grimy boarding house bathroom, a man peers through a cracked window, eye pressed to a rifle scope. Sweat beads on his brow despite the cool spring air. He steadies his breathing, finger tightening on the trigger. In his mind, a dark monologue churns.
This is it. They call him a hero, but he is tearing this country apart. Through every sermon, every march, he sows chaos.
He inhales shakily, trying to justify the deed.
If no one else will stop him, I will. I will be the one remembered for it.
His pulse pounds in his ears. The scent of gun oil mixes with dust in the close quarters of the bathroom. He blinks away stinging sweat. Through the scope's crosshairs, he has Dr. King in his sights, standing benignly in a dark suit, hands resting on the balcony railing as he chats. The man's world narrows to one target, one moment.
Do it. Do it now.
In an instant, shattering chaos. On the balcony, Dr. King crumples to the ground, a red bloom staining his crisp white shirt.
He has been shot. Somebody help.
Cries erupt from everywhere. Dr. King's friends race to his fallen body, screaming his name in horror. Below, people scatter and duck, searching for cover or the source of the shot. In the commotion, the assassin slips away from the boarding house, heart hammering as he flees into the night. Hundreds of miles away in Atlanta, a telephone rings shrilly in a quiet home. Coretta Scott King stands in her living room, surrounded by 3 of her young children who had been playing on the carpet. Her heart jumps at the sound. Late calls seldom bring good news. She exchanges a quick, concerned glance with her eldest daughter, Yolanda, then answers.
Hello? This is Coretta King.
The caller voice trembling through the receiver.
Mrs. King, I'm calling from Memphis. Martin's been shot.
The words punch the air from her lungs. For a moment, the room spins. She grips the phone cord so tightly it bites into her skin. Shaken, she whispers.
No. Dear God, is he alive?
He is gravely wounded. They have taken him to the hospital. You should come quickly.
Her hand flies to her mouth as a strangled gasp escapes. The children stare up at their mother, alarmed by the fear flashing in her eyes. For one frozen second, she is simply a wife in shock, but she forces steel into her spine. She must act. Voice wavering but resolute, she said.
I will come. I'm coming right now.
She gathers her children, voice taut but soothing, and rushes to call a trusted friend to watch them. Within minutes, Atlanta's Mayor Ivan Allen has arranged a police escort to rush her to the airport. Rain lashes the car windows as blue lights whirl. Her son, little Dexter, clings to her in the back seat, tears in his eyes. She cradles him close, heart thudding with dread.
Is Daddy hurt, Mama?
Coretta forcing a calm answer.
Daddy got hurt, love. We are going to him now.
She kisses his forehead, tasting salt tears on his skin.
It is going to be all right. Mama's here.
At Hartsfield Airport, the wind howls and a heavy downpour drenches the tarmac. Dressed in a dark dress, she steps out of the car into flashing police lights and chaos. Martin's personal secretary, Dora McDonald, grabs one of her arms. Mayor Allen takes the other. They practically carry her through the terminal. Crowds whisper as the trio passes. Some reach out to touch her shoulder, offering murmured prayers. She moves as if in a nightmare, eyes distant, holding herself together by threads of composure. Inside the terminal, she stands numbly beneath harsh fluorescent lights, rainwater dripping from her thin coat. Eastern Airlines Flight 399 to Memphis idles outside, delayed by the storm. Each second stretches unbearably. She paces by the gate, hands clenched so tightly her nails bite her palms. Mayor Allen appears again, face-stricken. He has just gotten an update. In a gentle but unsteady voice, he said,
Coretta, I have news.
Her dark eyes fix on the mayor's. In that silence she knows. A tremor runs through her. She hoarse whisper,
No, please, no.
Martin, he did not make it. I am so sorry.
The floor seems to tilt beneath her. She staggers, a wail rising in her throat. Dora quickly wraps an arm around her, but Coretta suddenly needs air. She breaks from their grasp and stumbles into a nearby ladies' room. In the empty airport ladies, she collapses against a sink and finally lets the sobs come, raw and racking.
Oh, God, not my Martin, not my Martin.
She presses her forehead to the cool mirror, tears blurring her reflection. Her chest heaves with anguish she can't even voice. The sterile smell of cleaning bleach mixes with the cold reality that her beloved Martin is gone. For a moment, this strong, poised woman is utterly broken, a widow made in a heartbeat. She clings to the sink as if it is the only solid thing in the world. In a stall behind her, a faucet drips steadily, each drop echoing like a clock ticking down the end of life as she knew it. Her sobs eventually quiet to trembling breaths. In the privacy of that lady's room, she whispers a desperate prayer.
Give me strength, dear Lord. I need your strength.
She recalls Martin's own words of faith and justice, words he spoke so often from the pulpit and their dinner table. She can almost feel his warm hand on her shoulder, steadying her. The pain does not fade, but something new flickers inside her, a resolve, faint but growing. With shaking hands, she wipes her tears. She straightens her back, lifts her chin. She inhales deeply, letting out a slow, steadying breath. She walks out of that lady's a different woman than the one who entered. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her heart shattered, but she has donned an invisible mantle of courage, of purpose. She will have time to grieve, but not now. Now, her children need their mother. Her people need a leader to comfort and guide them through this nightmare. She must be the steady flame in this dark moment. To understand how Coretta Scott became this pillar of grace and resolve, this steady flame, we have to go back to the beginning. Hi, and welcome to The Kingmakers, the podcast about the hidden heroes behind historic triumphs. I am your host, Romeo Richards, CEO of the African Caribbean Matchmaking Agency. We help Black singles become the best version of themselves and connect them to other high-quality Black singles. I am delighted that you are joining me today. In this series, we shine a light on the spouses and partners who have helped great leaders and innovators reach their heights, the husbands, wives, friends, and loved ones who quietly turn dreamers into kings and queens. Our mission is simple: to uncover the untold stories of how the right partner, aligned with your dreams and values, can change the trajectory of your life and even history. In each episode, we dive into an intimate, story-driven portrait of a famous figure's other half, distilling lessons on love, support, and personal growth. This is not just about giving credit where it is due, though that is important. It is about learning what makes a relationship truly empowering. Whether you are a values-driven single, seeking your ideal teammate, or someone reflecting on the power of relationships in your own life, this podcast will offer insight, inspiration, and yes, a few tears and laughs along the way. For every laugh, expect a tear. We believe that great stories blend both emotions. The Kingmakers is about hope and optimism in relationships. The earnest belief that the right partner can help you become more fully yourself and accomplish more than you ever dreamed alone. Before we dive into today's story, I want to invite you to do something personal. Think of someone in your life who has been a kingmaker for you, someone who believed in you, supported you, or challenged you in a way that changed your life's direction for the better. It might be a spouse or romantic partner, but it could just as well be a family member, a close friend, or a mentor. Hold that person in your mind as you listen. Maybe even dedicate this episode to them in your heart. Great achievements rarely happen in isolation. If you have a queen or kingmaker in your life, consider reaching out to thank them. Write down their name and your message of gratitude in the comments below to let them know you are dedicating this series to them. One more note before we begin. This podcast is for education and inspiration, not therapy or professional advice. We will be discussing real relationships and personal journeys, which can sometimes trigger strong emotions. If any story brings up personal distress for you, please seek support from a qualified mental health professional. Take care of yourself. These stories are meant to inspire hope, not cause harm. All right, take a deep breath. Now, let's step into our next Kingmaker story, an emotional and inspiring journey of love, loss, and legacy. Today's Kingmaker is Coretta Scott King, the widow who kept the dream alive. It is the story of love, sacrifice, shattering heartbreak, and the unwavering courage of a woman who transformed tragedy into an enduring legacy of hope. Coretta Scott's journey to becoming a kingmaker began far from the spotlight, in the red clay backroads of the 1930s Alabama. She was born on a farm in Heiberger, Alabama in 1927. As a young girl, she walked 5 miles to the nearest all-black school each day, often watching dusty yellow buses roar past carrying white children to a nicer school down the road. The air on those walks smelled of pine and hot dirt, and sometimes cruelty. One crisp morning, 10-year-old Coretta trudges that long road with her older sister, Edith. The sun is barely up, dew still clings to the tall grass. A rusty truck full of local white school kids rattles by. One boy leans out and hurls a crumpled soda can. It clatters at her feet. Laughter trails behind as the truck roars off. She flinches, but she does not cry. She simply lifts her chin higher.
One day, Edith, things will change. We will make them change.
Poverty and prejudice were constants in her early life, but the Scott family was close-knit and proud. Her father, Obie, struggled to support them through farming and odd jobs. Once, when she was a child, the family home was burned down, likely by white neighbors jealous of Obie's small successes. She stood with her parents and siblings, watching flames devour the house her father built with his own hands. The night air reeked of smoke and hatred. Instead of despairing, Obie Scott set to rebuilding immediately. That resilience left a searing impression on her. Never bow in defeat. Young Coretta threw herself into education as her ticket to a better life. She was exceptionally bright and musically gifted, with a singing voice as clear as a chapel bell. In 1945, she earned admission to Antioch College in Ohio, becoming one of only a few black students on campus. It was a world away from the segregated South. She arrived in Ohio with a battered suitcase and a heart full of hope. The northern air smelled different, freer somehow, and she allowed herself to dream. But even in integrated Ohio, racism found her. During her studies in education, she was barred from doing her student teaching at a local public school solely because of her race. When a supervisor implied that white children would not be taught by a black woman, her blood boiled with quiet fury. She refused to accept this injustice passively.
If I can't teach because I'm black, what kind of teacher would I be if I stayed silent?
So, she spoke up. She wrote letters, met with administrators, and rallied a few sympathetic classmates. Though the policy did not change immediately, her bold stance marked her as a burgeoning activist. She joined the campus NAACP and even traveled as a student delegate to a progressive political convention in 1948. This petite music student from Alabama was finding her voice, one that demanded justice. And that voice, literally, was magnificent. Her soprano singing talent earned her a scholarship to the prestigious New England Conservatory of Music in Boston in 1951. She left Antioch and headed to Boston to pursue her dream of becoming a professional singer. She imagined a life on stage, perhaps performing in grand concert halls. Little did she know, Boston would also bring her face to face with a different kind of destiny. In a brisk January afternoon in 1952 on Huntington Avenue, she steps out of the conservatory building, sheet music tucked under her arm. Snow flurries whirl in the air as she buttons her coat. She has just finished choir rehearsal. Strains of a classical aria still echo in her mind. As she descends the conservatory's stone steps, a young man approaches, walking with a purposeful stride and a warm smile. He is a theology student at Boston University, newly arrived from Atlanta, Martin Luther King Jr., though he is not yet the icon he will become. Today, he is just a 23-year-old doctoral student with a mischievous dimpled grin and an ambitious heart. A mutual friend gave him Coretta's phone number, praising her intellect and beauty. After a brief phone call, Martin insisted on meeting her in person. And here he is. He approached her playfully.
Good afternoon. Miss Scott, I presume?
He doffs his hat with a flourish, eyes twinkling.
I am Martin Luther King. I believe we have a lunch date.
Coretta smiling, arching an eyebrow.
Do we now? You certainly are punctual, Mr. King. Our lunch was scheduled for 1 o'clock, wasn't it?
Laughing gently, he replied.
It was, and it is 1 o'clock on the dot. I could not risk being late, not for someone as lovely as you.
Coretta flushes slightly at his bold compliment. Snowflakes catch on her eyelashes as she studies him. He is shorter than she expected. Martin stands a modest 5 feet 7 inches, but there is an undeniable presence about him. Confidence and warmth radiate from that broad smile. And those eyes, earnest, deep brown eyes that seem to look straight into her soul.
Flattery. You are off to a strong start.
She extends her hand politely.
It is nice to meet you, Martin.
The pleasure is mine, Coretta.
He offers his arm with a courtly air.
Shall we go? There is a little cafe nearby that I promise makes up for in pie what it lacks in glamour.
She loops her arm through his, intrigued. As they walk through the chilly streets, their conversation flows easily. He talks about his studies in theology, his hopes of changing the South, his admiration for Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. She talks about music and social justice, how she yearns to use her talents to uplift others. She mentions the discrimination she faced at Antioch. He listens intently, his face thoughtful.
You know, I heard about that. The student teaching ordeal. I must say I admire how you stood up. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Laughing gently, she teases.
You sound like you are practicing for a sermon.
He grins sheepishly.
Perhaps I am. You inspire me, Coretta. A voice like yours.
He nods toward the sheet music she carries.
And a spirit that won't sit quiet in the face of wrong. That is a rare combination.
She finds herself disarmed by his sincerity. Under the gray Boston sky, 2 young black Southerners far from home bond over shared passions. By the time they reach the cafe, hands almost touching as they walk, something subtle has shifted. They feel as if they have known each other for much longer than an hour. Over hot soup and a slice of sweet potato pie, he turns the conversation to more personal matters.
Tell me, Coretta, what's your vision for your life? With all that talent and drive, what do you want to do?
Thoughtfully stirring at her coffee, she responds.
Well, music will always be dear to me. I have dreamed of performing on stages, yes. But more than that, I want to make a difference. Perhaps combine music and activism somehow. I feel called to help people to fight the injustice I have known all my life.
She gives a self-conscious laugh.
Big ideas for a country girl.
Admiring her, he replied softly.
The bigger the better. I have learned that if your dreams don't scare you a little, they are not big enough.
He reaches across the small table and gently covers her hand with his. Her breath catches. His touch is warm despite the cold.
I think we share a calling, Coretta. I can't explain it, But meeting you here now, I feel Providence. Like our paths were meant to cross.
Her eyes brightened, smiling.
You are quite the preacher, Martin.
And you are quite the inspiration. Would it be too forward of me to say that I hope this is the first of many lunches and dinners and conversations we share?
With a playful tilt of her head, she joked.
I think that could be arranged.
And so it began. That lunch date bloomed into a beautiful courtship. He was smitten by her beauty and moral compass. She was drawn to his vision, charisma, and kind heart. Within months, he was head over heels, writing her ardent letters, serenading her off-key with gospel hymns, and even joking to friends that he'd found himself a woman with the rare combination of intellectual and artistic prowess. Early 1953, he proposed to her. Coretta, who once thought she'd never marry a preacher, found herself saying yes to this young Baptist minister who promised not just to love her, but to make their life's work a joint mission for justice. So, it came to pass on a sweltering summer day on June 18, 1953. Coretta is radiant in a white lace gown she sewed herself. Martin stands tall in a sharp black suit. As they exchange vows under the Alabama sun, a choir of cicadas hum in the nearby trees. Martin's father, Daddy King, officiates the ceremony and traditionalist that he is, insists the bride vow to obey her husband. Coretta squeezes Martin's hands a little tighter at that word, obey, but she lets it pass with grace, for she understands what their union truly means, partnership. When they share their first kiss as husband and wife, cheers erupt from gathered family and friends. He lifts his new bride in a jubilant spin as she laughs, the skirt of her gown twirling. In that moment, under the blistering southern sky, they are simply two young people in love, dreaming of the future, thinking they knew what their life together would be. In September 1954, they settled in Montgomery, Alabama, where he became pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. She hung her conservatory degree proudly on the wall of the parsonage and gave vocal lessons on the side. They were eager and idealistic, ready to change the world while raising a family. What they could not foresee was just how ferocious the coming storms would be. Montgomery in the mid-1950s was a powder keg of racial tensions. And it was here that destiny placed the Kings at the epicenter of the burgeoning civil rights movement. In December 1955, when Rosa Parks's brave act of defiance sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, Martin was thrust into leadership as the boycott spokesman. Suddenly, the young pastor became a target, and by extension, so did Coretta and their infant daughter, Yolanda. It is late January 30th, 1956. Midnight drapes over the parsonage on South Jackson Street. She has just tucked 7-week-old Yolanda into her crib. The house is finally quiet. Martin is away at a mass meeting for the boycott, and she takes a rare moment to rest, humming a lullaby as she tidies up the living room. A tension hums in the air. They have received death threats lately, ugly phone calls at all hours. She moves to the front window and gently pulls the curtain aside. Outside, the winter night is still. A lone street lamp casts a pool of light on the sidewalk, where a few neighbors sit on porches keeping watch over the King home, volunteers guarding against the worst. She whispers a prayer.
Keep us safe, Lord. Protect Martin and all of us in this fight.
At that instant, a thunderous explosion blows out the front windows. She hits the floor as shards of glass spray past. The house shudders. Plaster dust rains down. For a heartbeat there is silence. Then baby Yolanda's terrified wail pierces the air. Coretta shouting, heart-pounding.
Yoki! Baby, I'm coming!
She scrambles up, ears ringing, races through the smoke toward the nursery. The acrid smell of explosives and burning wood floods her nose. She stumbles over splintered furniture, her bare feet cut by glass, but she does not even feel it. Reaching the nursery, she finds Yolanda unharmed in her crib, screaming in fear. She scoops her into her arms, hands shaking as she checks the baby's tiny body head to toe. No injuries, thank God. In a soothing, yet trembling voice, she tries to reassure the child.
Shh, shh. Mama's here. I've got you. It is okay, baby. It is okay.
She holds her tightly against her chest, rocking back and forth while debris settles around them. Outside, shouting neighbors begin to gather. Someone bursts through the front door. Reverend Ralph Abernathy, one of Martin's close friends, arriving in a panic, calling out.
Coretta! Coretta, are you all right?
Steadying her voice, she responded.
We are fine. In here, we are all right.
Abernathy finds her in the nursery, surrounded by broken glass and chaos, yet miraculously unharmed. She stands there, a young mother in a nightgown, cradling her baby amidst the wreckage of a bombed home. Her face is pale but composed. Within minutes, Martin rushes home, having heard the explosion from the church meeting. He arrives breathless to find a smoldering hole on the veranda and a crowd of black neighbors and supporters surrounding the house, many armed with bats, some with guns, all furious and frightened. They fear for the king's lives and are ready to mete out vigilante justice to any white supremacist mob that might follow. Martin pushes through the crowd, terror in his eyes, until he sees Coretta on the veranda, baby in her arms, alive. Relief and anguish collide on his face. He almost collapses into her, wrapping his arms around his wife and child, voice breaking.
Coretta, Yoki, thank God. Thank God you are safe.
We are all right, Martin. We are all right.
She rubs his back reassuringly, even as her own body quakes. As word of the bombing spreads, the crowd on the street grows restless. Angry murmurs rippling. Broken glass glitters on the veranda like malicious confetti. A few young men want revenge. You can see it in their blazing eyes as they grip their weapons. Sensing the volatility, Martin steps up onto the damaged veranda, raising a hand for calm. Coretta stays just behind him, a silent strength at his shoulder, still holding Yolanda. His voice rings out into the cold night.
Don't do anything panicky. Don't get your weapons. If you have weapons, take them home. We cannot meet hate with hate.
The crowd begins to quiet, drawn in by the conviction in his tone. She stands tall beside him, a living testament to the courage of their convictions. He continues, eyes sweeping over his people.
I want you to love your enemies. Be good to them. This is what we must live by. We must meet hate with love.
Murmurs of agreement, even some amen from the crowd. Slowly the tension eases. One by one, the men lower their bats and guns. Neighbors embrace Coretta, expressing relief that she and the baby survived. Despite having come within inches of death, she exudes a calm grace, thanking everyone for their concern. In her arms, baby Yolanda has fallen back asleep, tiny fingers clutching her mother's blouse, oblivious to the danger that nearly took them both. That night, after the crowd disperses and what is left of the front windows boarded up, they finally sit together amid the debris. They are exhausted, emotionally drained. A police guard lingers outside. They know that offers little guarantee. Their home is forever scarred, a jagged hole in the veranda, soot stains on the walls, reminders of how high the stakes have become. Martin bows his head, guilt heavy in his eyes as he takes her hand, voice full of remorse.
I'm so sorry, Coretta. I brought you into this war zone. I thought we'd change the world together, but I never wanted to put you or our child in harm's way.
She is firm but gentle.
Martin, look at me.
He does. Her gaze is steady.
We are in this together, remember? I knew the risks, and I am here. I am not going anywhere.
But tonight...
Tonight could have been a tragedy, yes. But it was not. We are alive. And maybe it is a sign that our lives have a purpose yet to fulfill.
She squeezes his hand, her voice softening.
I believe in you and what we are fighting for. If that means enduring nights like this, so be it. My grandmother used to say, to get to the promised land, you have to cross the desert.
Martin, eyes glistening.
How did I ever deserve a wife like you?
Coretta, with a faint smile, responded.
We deserve each other, and there is nowhere else I'd rather be than by your side, no matter how hard the journey.
In the flickering candlelight, with the blast having knocked the power out, Martin leans forward and kisses her forehead tenderly. They sit there quietly, Coretta resting her head on his shoulder as baby Yolanda sleeps against her chest, the three of them drawing strength from one another. The smell of smoke still hangs in the air, but so does a sense of triumph. Violence tried to break them, but it only strengthened their resolve. The Montgomery bus boycott continued for over a year, and through it all, she was his rock. She juggled motherhood with movement work, often turning their home into a hub for strategy meetings and freedom songs. Late at night, she would sit with him as he drafted sermons and speeches, offering her insights and encouragement. She even performed at freedom concerts, blending music and spoken word to raise funds for the movement. In one such concert, her pure soprano voice rang out in a packed church, moving listeners to tears and inspiring donations to the cause. Her music became a weapon of hope. As the movement gained momentum in the 1960s, he became the face of civil rights, and she became its anchor. She often stood just outside the spotlight's glare, raising their 4 children and supporting her husband's work from behind the scenes. But she was never just a bystander. She was an activist in her own right, and he knew it. He once introduced her at a rally by saying, "I want you to meet my wife Coretta. In her own way, she is as much a freedom fighter as I am." In March of 1965, during the Selma voting rights marches, Martin was jailed in Selma for leading a protest. Coretta, pregnant with their 4th child, received frightening phone calls at home, anonymous voices saying her husband would be killed in jail, or that she and her children would get it next. Each ring of the phone sent a jolt of anxiety through her. Yet when friends urged her to temporarily relocate for safety, she refused. She stayed in Atlanta, close to the movement's nerve center, taking those calls with icy calm or simply hanging up. Fear would not cow her. When their home phone was not ringing with threats, it rang with calls from world figures. That March, she took a call from a most unlikely person. Yolanda King excitedly whispered to her mother when the phone rang, "Mama, the president's wife is calling." Actually, it was not the president's wife. It was the president himself. President Lyndon B. Johnson phoned her personally while Martin was in jail to reassure her that he would protect Martin's life and was pushing for a Voting Rights Act. She spoke to the president with polite firmness, urging him to hurry. That conversation helped pave the way for the historic Voting Rights Act later that year. Her poise and quiet influence had made a mark at the highest level. As the years pressed on, she and Martin grew only closer through the strain. In private, they cherished moments of normalcy. Picture them in early 1967, a rare quiet evening at home in Atlanta. She sits at the piano, fingers gliding over the keys as she plays a soft melody, one of his favorite hymns, "Precious Lord, Take My Hand." He reclines in an armchair, eyes closed, letting the music wash over him. The children are asleep. For a short moment, the weight of their mission lifts, and they are simply husband and wife, sharing a peaceful tune. When the song ends, he opens his eyes and smiles at her, saying,
I needed that. Thank you, Corey.
She rose and sat on the arm of his chair.
You carry so much, Martin. Sometimes I wish I could do more to lighten that load.
You do. Every day. More than you know. Just coming home to you, hearing you sing, gives me strength.
He takes her hand, voice heavy with emotion.
I could not do this without you.
Yes, you could, but I am glad you don't have to.
She brushes a strand of gray, prematurely earned, at his temple.
Promise me you will try to rest more? You are only one man, Martin.
Squeezing her hand, he murmurs.
I will try. But you know there is still so much to be done. The war in Vietnam, poverty. Sometimes I wonder, are we asking too much of people, pushing too fast?
Looking into his eyes.
We can't slow down. If anything, we need to speak more boldly. Martin, about Vietnam, you know how I feel. Too many of our boys are dying. Too many innocent lives.
She had been urging him for months to publicly denounce the Vietnam War. She herself had spoken at anti-war rallies, even as advisors cautioned he should focus solely on civil rights. She saw all struggles for peace and justice as connected. She continued softly.
I know some of your colleagues disagree, but you taught me that silence in the face of injustice is wrong. How can we fight for freedom at home while ignoring an unjust war abroad? They need to hear your voice, Martin.
You are right.
He sighs, nodding.
I will speak on it. In fact, I have been preparing a sermon. I will deliver it next month in New York, Beyond Vietnam.
Good.
She leans down and kisses his forehead.
I will be right there with you, every step.
True to her word, on April 4th, 1967, she sat in the front pew at Riverside Church in New York as he gave his famous anti-war speech. She could see how his words, calling America to conscience, weighed on him, but she was never prouder. That was exactly 1 year, to the day before he was assassinated. By early April 1968, they had been married nearly 15 years. They'd forged a bond tempered by trials most couples could scarcely imagine. They had 4 beautiful children and a movement that had changed the world. But there were also deep signs of strain in him. He was bone-tired, carrying the traumas of countless battles, and lately an uneasy premonition of death hung over him. She sensed it. As morning light spills through the bedroom window of their home on April 3, 1968, she wakes to the scent of fresh coffee and the sound of him gently humming downstairs. She finds him in the kitchen, already dressed for travel in a neat dark suit. He is frying eggs for breakfast, though his mind seems elsewhere as he absently stirs the pan. The rich aroma of coffee mingles with the spring fragrance of magnolia blossoms wafting through the open window. She pauses in the doorway, taking in the scene. The great Dr. Martin Luther King, looking like an ordinary man making breakfast. There is a poignancy to it that she can't quite place. She notices the slight slump in his shoulders, the distant look in his eyes. Last night he was unusually quiet, preoccupied with today's trip to Memphis. She slips up behind him and wraps her arms around his waist, saying softly,
Good morning, Martin.
Martin startled, then smiling.
Good morning, Corey.
He turns to kiss her cheek.
I tried not to wake you. You need your rest.
I could say the same to you. You were tossing and turning all night. What is on your mind?
He sighs and moves the pan off the burner. The kitchen fills with early sun, golden and gentle. He takes her hand and leads her to the small table where 2 plates are set. The children are still asleep, giving them a rare quiet moment alone.
I've been thinking about Memphis, about the people counting on me there, and about the risks.
We have faced risk before.
She reaches to pour coffee into his cup, the dark liquid steaming.
But something about this feels different, doesn't it?
Yes.
He rubs his forehead.
There have been so many threats lately. The atmosphere everywhere is so hostile. I can't shake this feeling like a premonition that my time might be running short.
Martin, don't say that.
I'm not afraid for myself. I just worry about you and the kids. If anything ever happened to me.
She presses a finger to his lips gently.
Stop, please.
She musters a reassuring smile, though tears prick her eyes.
Nothing is going to happen. You will go to Memphis lead that march for the sanitation workers, and be back home in a day or two, I will have a hot meal and a hug waiting.
I pray you are right.
He cups her face tenderly, his thumb catching a tear that escaped down her cheek.
But if I'm wrong, I need to know that you will keep going, keep pushing forward, raising our babies, fighting for what is right.
Holding his hand against her cheek.
Hush now. We are partners, remember? Nothing will stop the work, not even that. But I refuse to dwell on dark possibilities today.
She manages a brighter tone.
Today, I choose hope. I choose to believe God will bring you back to me safe.
Your faith always astounds me.
They embrace in the sunlit kitchen, clinging just a little longer than usual. She breathes in his scent, a mix of ivory soap and a dab of aftershave, committing it to memory. She feels the steady beat of his heart against hers. For a moment, all is still. A honk from outside breaks the spell. Reverend Ralph Abernathy has arrived to drive him to the airport. Time to go. He grabs his coat and briefcase. By now, little Bernice and Martin III have tumbled out of their rooms, still in pajamas, to say goodbye to Daddy. There is a flurry of hugs and kisses at the front door. He kneels to hug his youngest daughter, Bernice, who giggles as he pecks her cheek. He gives his sons a pep talk about taking care of their mother and being brave boys. Finally, he turns to Coretta, who stands on the veranda holding baby Dexter, just 17 months old, on her hip. He leans in and kisses her, a tender, lingering kiss.
I love you, Corey. Thank you for everything.
I love you too. Always.
As he walks to the car, a strange, chill breeze rustles the budding dogwood trees along the street. She stands on the veranda and waves, forcing a cheerful smile so the children will not worry. He waves back through the car window as it pulls away. Something inside her tightens, an inexplicable sorrow welling up. She watches until the car disappears around the bend. In her chest, her heart feels the tug of a future she cannot see, a future that suddenly, inexplicably feels perilously uncertain. Morning breaks gently over Memphis, bringing a golden glow to the Lorraine Motel. Martin awakens after a restless night, but today a lightness fills him. The motel's owner will later remark that Dr. King seemed particularly happy that day. He steps out onto the balcony in his shirt sleeves, the crisp spring air cool against his skin. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. For a moment, he simply enjoys the quiet of a man stealing a rare moment of peace. Far below, the city stirs. He allows himself one secret indulgence. From his pocket, he pulls a cigarette and lights it with a cupped hand. A curl of smoke rises as he exhales slowly. He usually hides this habit from the public, but up here, alone in the early sunlight, he savors it as he gathers his thoughts. The previous night's sermon still echoes in his mind. I'm not worried now. I have been to the mountaintop. I may not get there with you. Those prophetic words had poured from his soul at Mason Temple. He had spoken of not fearing any man, of having seen the promised land beyond his own life. At the time, the crowd's cries and amens had thundered in his ears. Now, in the morning hush, those same words returned to him as a gentle whisper. Was it a premonition? Martin wonders, gazing at the pale sky. A strange calm comes over him. He feels ready. Not that he expects anything to happen today, no, but he has made his peace with the possibility that one day, any day, it could happen. At the very moment Martin was indulging himself in his well-kept secret, reflecting on his previous night's sermon, in another motel not far from his, a man sits on the edge of the bed, already fully dressed. A newspaper lies open on his lap, hands trembling as he traces a headline, King is back in Memphis. Martin Luther King Jr. is staying at the Lorraine Motel, room 306. The man's jaw tightens. This is the chance he has been waiting for. In the stale hush of the room, his breathing sounds harsh and loud. A small bag at his feet contains his few belongings, and the tool of destiny he has chosen. Gently, Almost reverently, he pulls out a Remington 36 hunting rifle. The cold steel of the barrel catches a glint of morning sun. He remembers the nights spent fantasizing about this moment, convincing himself of its necessity. This is for the America I want, he thinks, stroking the rifle's wooden stock. One shot to silence that voice. As the city awakens outside, he begins his preparations. He checks out of his motel and heads downtown, heart pounding with a volatile mix of excitement and dread. Every step he takes feels fated. No turning back now. He finds a seedy rooming house run by Bessie Brewer, right across from the Lorraine. With forced casualness, he pays cash for a room under a false name and insists on room 5B, one with a view. Once upstairs, he discovers the tiny communal bathroom window offers a direct line of sight to the motel's balcony. A thin smile creeps onto his lips. It is perfect. By early afternoon, he acquires a pair of binoculars from a sporting goods store. Back in the claustrophobic confines of room 5B, he sits by the window, assembling the rifle with methodical care. Click. He snaps the scope into place. Snick. He slides a cartridge into the chamber. Each metallic sound sends a jolt through his nerves. A drop of sweat rolls down his temple as he imagines the moment. Dr. King in his sights. The man swallows hard, the taste of bile rising in his throat. For a moment, his resolve wavers. In the stained mirror above the cupboard, a gaunt face stares back at him, his own brown eyes wide with a flicker of doubt. What if this is wrong? What if this act damns him forever? He squeezes his eyes shut and braces his hands on the rickety dresser as if steadying himself on a ship's deck. In his mind, a chaotic monologue rages. They say he is a great man. No. His fist clenches. He is tearing the country apart. Someone has to stop him. It has to be me. He recalls hateful whispers from taverns and street corners, the racist bile that fueled him on this path. Each memory hardens his heart like ice. He opens his eyes and takes a long, shuddering breath. On the crumpled motel bed lies a worn road map and a handgun, tokens of his desperate year on the run. After today, he tells himself, I will be remembered. I will be the one who killed the king. The thought brings a twisted sense of purpose. He kneels by the window and peers through the binoculars at the Lorraine Motel. The midday sun glares off parked cars. Through the crosshairs of his imagination, he can almost see King's silhouette behind the balcony's glass door. His pulse quickens. In that dingy room's silence, he whispers a fervent prayer to no God at all. Just one shot. One clean shot. His finger mimics a trigger squeeze. Pow! In his mind's eye, the mighty preacher staggers and falls. His lips curl into a grin that does not reach his eyes. He feels a strange, hollow ache in his chest. He tells himself this is righteous, a mission to save a nation that he believes King is tearing apart. He tells himself he will be the hero in the shadows, correcting the course of history. Yet a bead of sweat drips into his eye, stinging as some buried part of him quails in fear. He forces that fear down with a gulp of acrid coffee from a paper cup. The bitter taste steadies him. Propping the rifle by the window, he prepares to wait as long as needed. His world narrows to this dingy room and that balcony across the street. As hours crawl by, he sits in darkness, a darkness of his own making, convincing himself over and over of the rightness of what he is about to do. Outside, April 4th moves toward evening, and with each passing minute his heartbeat ticks closer to murder. While the man was busy with his preparations at the Lorraine Motel, Martin's day work begins. He freshens up and joins his SCLC staff for a strategy meeting. They pore over plans for the next march supporting the striking sanitation workers. Maps, schedules, phone calls, the mundane mechanics of protest. There is an energy in the room, fueled by the rousing success of last night's speech. His close friend Ralph Abernathy notices his buoyant mood and cannot help but smile. It is good to see him like this, Abernathy thinks, recalling how downcast he had been just days before when a previous march turned violent. Now his laughter comes easily, as they share stories over lunch. After lunch, while Abernathy takes a brief nap, Martin heads to visit his brother A.D. King in another room. The two brothers chat warmly for an hour, reminiscing about childhood memories in Atlanta and talking about the days ahead. Martin cradles his infant nephew, laughing as the baby grips his finger. In these small moments of family, he finds solace. But duty calls again soon. There are still plans to firm up for the next march. By late afternoon, he returns to his room to get ready for a friend's home-cooked dinner. His colleague, Reverend Billy Kiles, has invited the team over, and Kiles is already calling, urging them not to be late. In the cramped motel room, a jovial chaos unfolds. Martin, Abernathy, Jesse Jackson, and others jostle around to shave and change into fresh shirts and suits. The room smells of aftershave and excitement. Abernathy admits hesitantly that he might not be able to join Martin for the planned Poor People's Campaign in Washington later that month, citing exhaustion. Martin pauses mid-tie, concern in his eyes. Gently he responds that if Ralph is not there, he might reconsider going himself, a rare moment of vulnerability between two brothers in arms. Abernathy, touched, eventually agrees he will go to Washington after all. They clasp hands in solidarity, and Martin's face breaks into that famous grin. "We have come this far together, Ralph. I would not want to do it without you," he says softly. At 5:30 p.m., Kiles knocks and pokes his head in, laughing at the scramble of men still getting dressed. "Come on, Dr. King. We can't keep my wife's cooking waiting," he teases. Martin chuckles. "All right, Reverend Kiles, we are coming, we are coming." He dons his dark suit jacket and brushes a speck of lint off his tie. There is an irrepressible twinkle in his eyes this evening. Despite the looming challenges, he feels hope. The strike, the movement, the future, it all feels possible again. Finally ready, the group spills out of room 306 onto the open-air balcony of the Lorraine Motel around 5:55 p.m. The sun hangs low in the west, painting the sky in strokes of orange and pink. Martin lingers for a moment, resting his hands on the balcony railing. A light breeze ruffles his collar. Below, in the courtyard, colleagues are loading into cars. His driver, Solomon Jones, calls up, "Dr. King, it is cooling off now. You might want a coat." Martin waves off the concern with a smile. "I will be fine, Solomon, thank you," he replies. He spots Reverend Jesse Jackson below, who has not put on a tie for the dinner. Martin cannot resist. He leans over the railing and calls out, playful authority in his voice, "Jesse, you cannot go to dinner dressed like that, my friend. At least put on a tie so you look respectable." Jesse Jackson looks up sheepishly and laughs, rubbing the back of his neck. "Dr. King," he calls back, "if you are preaching fashion, I am guilty as charged." Martin and the others burst into easy laughter. It feels good to laugh, Martin thinks. The sound echoes around the courtyard. Nearby, Ben Branch, a musician scheduled to perform at an event with them later that night, is tuning his instrument. Martin turns to Branch with a request on his heart. Leaning over the railing, he raises his voice. "Ben!" The young musician glances up. Martin's face is alight with warmth. "Ben, make sure you play Take My Hand, Precious Lord tonight. Play it real pretty for me now. Promise?" Branch beams and waves back. "I promise, Doc. I will do it." Martin's favorite hymn, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Just hearing its name brings a sense of comfort. He hums a few bars under his breath, envisioning Mahalia Jackson's soulful rendition. In that moment, Precious Lord is simply a song for the evening's program. None of them realize it will soon become a requiem. Martin chuckles and claps Ben's shoulder from above, then straightens up, hands in his pockets. For a brief second, he falls quiet, gazing out past the motel buildings. The setting sun has broken through the clouds, washing the sky in golden light. A colleague notices Martin pause, a distant look in his eyes. Martin's mind drifts, just for an instant, to his family in Atlanta, to Coretta and the children, He imagines returning home to them soon, maybe bringing gifts from Memphis for the kids. A sudden chill runs through him despite the warm evening. He shivers and draws a breath. Perhaps I should grab that coat after all, he thinks fleetingly. He turns his head slowly, as if sensing something he cannot quite name. Across the street, the windows of a rundown rooming house reflect the dying sunlight. Martin squints slightly, the last rays bright in his eyes. The air feels strangely still now. Time seems to slow. On the balcony, Martin stands poised between light and shadow, on the cusp of fate. He has no idea that these are the final calm moments of his life. Across the road, in the dim bathroom of the boarding house, the assassin's heart drums in his ears. He has been lurking there at the cracked open window for what feels like eternity, rifle barrel resting on the sill. The room stinks of mildew and sweat. One eye pressed to the scope, he steadies his breathing the way he practiced. Through the crosshairs, he watches figures gather on the Lorraine's balcony. There he is. Martin Luther King Jr., so clear he could almost touch him. The assassin's mouth goes dry. His finger finds the trigger, resting lightly, just as he had trained himself in dreams and nightmares. He sees King joking with someone below, not a care in the world. He does not know. He will never see it coming. The assassin's pulse thunders. His vision narrows to the black circle of the scope. King's chest, no, too low. He lifts the aim to King's throat, the broad neck above that dark tie. Yes, one shot, do it. He inhales, holds his breath. His finger begins to squeeze. On the Lorraine balcony, Martin is just turning back toward his friends, a relaxed smile still on his face, when a flash like lightning bursts from the boarding house window across the street. In that split second, all goes silent. The pigeons roosting on the motel sign explode into flight. Martin hears nothing but a sudden pop and feels an immense searing impact under his right cheek. It is as if the sun itself has detonated in his face. What? His mind barely has time to form a thought. The world around him slows to a surreal crawl. The fiery pain shatters through his jaw, and he is lifted off his feet by an invisible force. His vision blurs. He senses his tie fly loose from his neck as the bullet tears past. For an endless moment in time, he is suspended between earth and sky. As he begins to fall backward, 1,000 images streak through his mind. Coretta's smile on their wedding day, the laughter of his children chasing fireflies in the summer, the church in Montgomery where it all began, the faces of countless supporters in the crowd last night shining with hope. So soon? He thinks dimly. I am not ready. A peculiar warmth floods his body. He wonders if this is death approaching. In the spreading silence, he reaches for something. Perhaps God, perhaps the dream he has not yet fulfilled. His body hits the hard concrete of the balcony with a thud, but he barely feels it. Is this how it ends? An odd calm overtakes him, as darkness starts to gather at the edges of his consciousness. I hear you, Lord, he thinks, or perhaps whispers. He is not sure. I am coming home. At that exact moment, hundreds of miles away in Atlanta, in the kitchen of the King family home, Coretta suddenly gasps aloud. A sharp, unexplained pain grips her chest, nearly knocking the breath from her. The glass of water she was holding slips from her fingers and crashes to the floor, shattering into glittering shards. Her hand flies to her heart. The house is quiet, but she senses something is terribly wrong. A tremor of dread ripples through her very soul. She does not know why, but her thoughts immediately turn to Martin. She steadies herself on the counter, heart pounding as a whisper of panic rises in her mind. Back on the Lorraine Motel balcony, chaos erupts in a sudden rush of sound. The eerie stillness shatters with screams. Martin's been shot. Get down! Reverend Abernathy and Jesse Jackson dive to the floor even as they scramble toward their fallen friend. Andrew Young reaches Martin first. His hands shake as he touches Martin's shoulder. Martin lies terribly still, eyes closed, blood quickly staining the concrete under his head. Andy Young's voice is a ragged plea. Martin, Martin. For one heart-stopping moment, Young cannot find a pulse and thinks his friend is already gone. But then, yes, a faint heartbeat. He is alive. He is still alive, Young cries out. Pandemonium reigns. Men are pointing frantically across the street. The shot came from over there. Sirens begin wailing in the distance, growing louder. Ralph Abernathy kneels and cradles Martin's head in his lap, tears streaming down his face. Martin, stay with me, oh God, stay with me, brother. He sobs, pressing a towel to the gaping wound on Martin's cheek. An unconscious groan escapes Martin's lips, the only sign of life. The assassin, meanwhile, is already gone from the bathroom window, melting into the panicked confusion of the boarding house. He bounds down the back stairs, adrenaline turning his legs to springs. In his blind dash, he nearly trips. Don't drop the rifle. He clutches it tightly, wrapped in a green blanket, and bursts out into an alley. He does not look back. Heart hammering, he dumps the rifle and his suitcase in a doorway and slips away, disappearing like a phantom. He tells himself he did it. He hit his mark. But there is no triumph in him now, only raw animal terror. Tires squeal in the street. Voices shout behind him. Then he runs, fleeing into the gathering dusk, as Memphis and the world begin to comprehend the enormity of what has just happened. On the balcony, someone is screaming for an ambulance. Sirens converge on the Lorraine. Amid the commotion, Martin lies motionless, face to the sky, eyes unseeing. His vision has gone dark, but in his final sliver of awareness, perhaps he feels gentle hands lifting him onto a stretcher. Perhaps he hears the distant echo of a beloved hymn. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me home. Or perhaps he hears nothing at all. Only a few minutes have passed since the gunshot, but already it feels as though the world has changed. A great soul is falling into silence, and all around, people sense it. As the ambulance races off into the night, carrying him away, a profound hush descends on the Lorraine Motel, a stillness of shock, of prayers hanging in the air. The sun has set in Atlanta. Coretta doubles over on her kitchen floor, weeping from a pain she cannot yet name. A few minutes ago, her entire body was seized by an inexplicable dread, a nightmare sensation that still has her heart thudding against her ribs. The broken glass in the kitchen has been cleared away with shaking hands, but the sense of doom remains, heavy and palpable. Please, God, no. She prays under her breath, though she does not yet know what she fears. All she knows is that Martin's face will not leave her mind. Across the room, the telephone suddenly rings, its shrill peal slicing through the silence. Her head snaps up. For a moment, she cannot move. The bell continues its relentless ringing, each chime a dagger in her chest. She forces herself to stand, her knees nearly buckling, and reaches for the phone. Her fingers grip the receiver tightly as she lifts it to her ear.
Hello?
She manages, voice thin as paper. On the other end comes the panicked voice of a colleague from Memphis. She can hear sirens blaring behind him.
Coretta, oh God, it's Martin.
The stranger's words tumble out in a choked sob.
He has been shot. Martin's been shot.
The blood drains from her face.
No.
She whispers, a denial, a plea. Her free hand claws at the air as if to catch hold of reality. The voice keeps talking, something about a balcony, the neck, critical condition street, Joseph's hospital. She feels the room tilting. She can't breathe.
No, please, no.
She whimpers.
They're trying to save him, but it does not look good.
The voice stammers, shattering with grief.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Her lips move, but no sound comes. Her vision blurs with tears. She wants to scream at the man on the line, to demand that he take back those awful words. This cannot be real. Not Martin. Not her Martin. There is a sudden clatter. The telephone receiver slips from her numb fingers and hits the hardwood floor. She does not notice. A low wail rises from her throat, a sound of pure anguish.
No.
She cries out, finally finding her voice. She presses both hands to her mouth as if to push the horror back inside. Hot tears spill down her cheeks, and her whole body shakes. In the hallway, 10-year-old Martin Luther King III and 12-year-old Yolanda peek out, alarmed by their mother's cries. Behind them, little Dexter and baby Bernice begin to wail in sympathy, not understanding but frightened by the sudden chaos. Coretta sees her children's faces, eyes round with fear. It rips her heart open even wider. Wiping at her tears, she staggers toward them.
Mama, what's wrong? Is it Daddy?
Yolanda's voice quivers on the edge of breaking. Coretta opens her mouth, but the words will not come out. How can she tell them? How can she break their innocent hearts? She promised herself long ago to protect them from harm, and now harm has come in the cruelest way. She falls to her knees and gathers her children in her arms. They collapse into a terrified huddle on the floor, 4 small bodies clinging to their mother as if she might drift away. Coretta holds them tight, stroking their hair, her tears wetting their faces.
I'm here. I'm here.
She soothes, her voice a shattered whisper. How am I going to do this? She thinks, panic rising. How do I tell them their father is? She cannot even complete the thought. Yolanda pulls back to look into her mother's eyes.
Is it Daddy?
She asks again, her young voice surprisingly firm, as though she already knows. Coretta's strength nearly fails. She bites down on her lip until she tastes blood.
Your daddy?
She begins, but then a sob chokes her. She tries again, cradling Yolanda's cheek.
Your daddy has been hurt, baby. He has been hurt bad.
Yolanda's face crumples. She nods silently, tears streaming. The boys cling harder. Coretta bows her head, an ocean of guilt and grief crashing over her. In her mind, images of Martin flash by, his smile this Sunday at church, his goodbye kiss before he left for Memphis, the weary way he rubbed his eyes last time he was home. I should have made him rest. I should have insisted he stay home. A fierce, irrational guilt grips her. Hadn't she known this day might come? Martin himself had predicted it. After President Kennedy was killed, he had turned to her and said, "This is what is going to happen to me also. This is a sick society." She'd scolded him then for speaking such things aloud, refusing to believe it. But deep down, she knew. Every phone threat, every hateful letter, every news of a shooting in those years, she had lived in quiet dread that one day it would come to her door. And now it has. Her shoulders shake with sobs as she squeezes her children close.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
She gasps, though she is not even sure what she is apologizing for. Perhaps for failing to shield them from this agony, or for being unable to stop the forces that hunted their father. Anger flickers within her grief, a white-hot anger at whoever did this. Who could be so cruel, so evil? For an instant, her tears dry and her eyes harden. But a whimper from little Bernice draws her back. She must remain their mother now, their rock, even as her own world is shattering. Mayor Ivan Allen Jr. sent a police escort to take her to the airport. As she rushes through the dimly lit concourse of Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport, a warm spring rain pelts the terminal windows. Mayor Allen walks briskly at her side, along with 12-year-old Yolanda and 10-year-old Martin Luther King III, to catch an urgent flight to Memphis. As they near the Eastern Airlines gate, Coretta's dear friend and Martin's secretary, Dora McDonald, suddenly takes her by the arm.
Coretta, we've got to go in here.
Dora urges, guiding her into the ladies' restroom adjacent to the waiting area. Coretta's hands are trembling. She can barely breathe. In the fluorescent glare of the empty toilet, the air smells of cold tile and anxiety. Dora keeps an arm around her as Coretta silently mouths a prayer. Please, God, let him hold on. Outside, Mayor Allen speaks in hushed tones into a wall telephone. A moment later, he appears at the toilet door, his face ashen. Coretta's stomach lurches. The mayor's eyes are filled with the answer before his lips can form the words. Gently, he says,
Mrs. King, I have to inform you that Dr. King is dead.
For an instant, the world stops. She sways on her feet as if struck by a physical force.
No, no.
She cries, the word escaping in a broken, anguished whisper. Dora catches her as her knees buckle, and together with Mayor Allen's wife, Louise, who had come along to support Coretta, they hold her upright. Coretta's face crumples. Hot tears spill down her cheeks. She had steeled herself for this possibility for years, ever since Martin began receiving death threats, yet hearing it spoken aloud is something else entirely. A keening sob rises from her core. Dora wraps her in a tight embrace. In the corridor, a few journalists and airline staff look on somberly, some wiping their own eyes. Coretta can barely see through her tears, but she summons every ounce of composure she has left. She straightens slightly, still clutching Dora's hand, and nods to Mayor Allen through her grief. There is nothing left to do here. The fight to save Martin is over. Allen, his own eyes wet, softly asks,
"Do you still want to go to Memphis?"
Coretta's voice trembles as she answers,
I cannot help in Memphis. My place tonight is with my children.
She knows at this moment her 4 young children, Yolanda, Marty, 7-year-old Dexter, and 5-year-old Bernice, need their mother more than ever. Martin is beyond her help now, but they are not. Mayor Allen nods and immediately cancels the flight arrangements. There will be no flight to Memphis tonight. The mayor leads Coretta and the children back through the terminal. Cameras flash as they pass. News of Dr. King's assassination is already beginning to spread. Coretta moves like a woman in a nightmare, flanked by friends and officials. Outside, the rain has strengthened into a downpour. A police car and the mayor's vehicle are waiting at a rear service gate. With sirens off, the small motorcade speeds through puddled streets back toward the King home in Vine City. In the back seat of the car, Coretta holds Yolanda and Marty close. The children have never seen their mother like this, shaking, eyes closed in pain. They cling to her, instinctively sensing the awful truth. Streetlights cast flickering shadows across Coretta's face as she silently weeps. Through her mind flashed the ominous words Martin had spoken to her after President Kennedy's assassination years ago.
This is what is going to happen to me also. This is a sick society.
By the time she steps through the front door of their home, an hour or so has passed since the phone first rang with news of the shooting. It feels like a lifetime. The house is filled with a flurry of activity. Friends and neighbors have arrived to tend to the younger children and offer comfort. Atlanta police officers stand respectfully outside, having been dispatched to guard the family. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with shock and sorrow. The moment Coretta appears, conversations hush. All eyes turn to the grieving widow and the 2 damp, red-eyed children clutching her hands. Coretta's sister-in-law, Christine, silently takes little Dexter and Bernice into the kitchen, trying to distract them with milk and cookies, but the children's faces are etched with fear and confusion. Coretta knows she cannot delay the inevitable. They deserve to know the truth, and it must come from her. Summoning strength she is not sure she has, she gently calls all 4 of her children into the living room. She sinks to her knees on the carpet so she can be at eye level with them. The kids gather around their mother in the soft glow of a lamp. Outside, rain patters against the windows. Yolanda, the oldest at 12, is already sobbing quietly, having sensed the worst from the airport ordeal. Martin III bites his trembling lip, eyes round and searching his mother's face. Little Dexter hovers near Christine's leg, and baby Bernice, awakened from sleep, rubs her eyes. Coretta opens her arms, and they all instinctively huddle close. For a long moment she just holds them, her heart breaking anew. How can I do this? She thinks desperately. She feels a scream clawing at her throat, but she swallows it back. Her children's innocent faces look to her for comfort and truth. She must be their rock now. With a ragged breath, Coretta begins, stroking Yolanda's hair.
Kids, I need you to listen to me.
Her voice quavers, and she pauses to steady it.
Your daddy.
The very word catches in her throat. Lord, give me strength. She tries again, cradling little Bernice in her lap.
Your daddy was hurt tonight. Very badly hurt.
Yolanda's chin trembles.
Is he gonna be okay?
She asks in a small voice, though her eyes already plead with a knowing dread. Coretta feels something shatter inside her. She cups Yolanda's wet cheek and gently shakes her head.
Baby, Daddy went to be with God.
She whispers, voice breaking.
He won't be coming home.
The words hang in the air, confirming the children's worst fears. For a moment, there is only silence, but for the ticking clock on the mantel. Then Yolanda lets out a wail.
No, not Daddy.
She cries, throwing her arms around her mother's neck. Martin III's face crumples as he squeezes his eyes shut. He buries his head against his mother's shoulder, his small frame shuddering with sobs. Dexter, just 7, looks confused and stricken. He understood, hurt. But the finality of won't be coming home now sinks in. His father is gone. Dexter begins to cry loudly, and baby Bernice, frightened by her siblings' anguish, starts to sob as well. Coretta's own tears pour down as she holds her children tightly. She rocks them back and forth on her knees, their grief melding with hers.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
She chokes out, kissing each of their heads. She wishes she could somehow shield them from this pain, to absorb it all herself. I've failed to protect you from this, she thinks, guilt welling up amid her sorrow. In the back of her mind flickers that irrational guilt that maybe she could have prevented this if only she had convinced Martin to rest, not to go to Memphis, not to expose himself to danger. But even as these thoughts swirl, she knows Martin lived and died doing what he believed was right. He told her as much.
If something happens to me, the cause will continue. It may even be help.
He had prepared her as best he could for this possibility. Through her tears, she becomes aware of several of her closest friends gathered quietly at the edges of the room. They stand as silent witnesses, tears in their own eyes. One of them hands her a box of tissues. She offers one to Yolanda, then gently wipes Dexter's and Bernice's noses as only a mother would.
Listen to me, my babies.
She says softly once the children's sobs subside to sniffles. She must somehow temper despair with hope.
Your daddy loved you all so much. Nothing, not even death, will ever change that. He is with God now, but I know he is also right here with us in spirit.
She presses her hand over her heart, then places it over Marty's and Yolanda's.
He is watching over us from heaven, and his love is inside you, inside all of us.
Yolanda wipes her eyes.
Are you sure, Mommy?
Coretta musters a reassuring smile through her tears.
I'm sure, sweetie. Your daddy's love is too strong to ever leave, and he would want us to be brave right now. Can you try to be strong for him, just like he was strong for so many people?
Yolanda and Marty nod, though they continue to cry softly. She pulls them all in again, embracing them with fierce love.
We will get through this together.
She whispers into their hair.
Daddy's dream will live on in us.
At that moment, the telephone rings, its jarring sound making everyone flinch. One of Coretta's friends moves to answer it in the kitchen. The calls have been coming in endlessly tonight. Coretta hears her friend speaking in a hushed tone.
Yes, she is as well as can be expected, Mr. President.
It is President Lyndon Johnson calling to offer condolences, as Coretta would later learn. Another call soon follows, this time from Senator Robert Kennedy. Coretta, still sitting on the floor with her children in her arms, nods to her friend to inform the senator she will call back shortly. Kennedy has been a family ally. He is calling not only with sympathy, but to ask how he can help. When she does return his call a short while later, her voice is calm and resolute. Yes, there is something he can do. She needs to get to Memphis to retrieve her husband's body and bring him home. Senator Kennedy immediately offers to charter a plane for her and the family by morning. His kindness moves her, and she thanks him quietly. Plans are set in motion for an early flight. As midnight passes, she realizes how utterly exhausted she is, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Yet she knows sleep will not come easily this night, if at all. Family and friends help settle the children into bed. Yolanda refuses to leave her mother's side, so Coretta allows her to stay in the bedroom. The little girl curls up under her parents' quilt, eyes swollen from crying, and eventually drifts into a fitful sleep. Coretta sits on the edge of the bed, stroking Yolanda's back and staring at the telephone, half expecting Martin's voice to call and assure her this is all just a terrible dream. But the house is silent, and Martin's voice is gone. In that silence, she prays.
Dear God, give me strength.
She whispers into the darkness, echoing the plea she made hours earlier with her children. She recalls Martin's steadfast faith and his final message in Memphis the night before, how he spoke of having seen the promised land and not fearing any man. A fragile calm comes over her. She straightens her back and silently vows, I will be strong, Martin. I will not let you down. In the gray pre-dawn light of April 5th, she dresses in black. She moves carefully, almost ritualistically, as she buttons a simple black wool coat and pins a black velvet hat with a short veil over her hair. Despite barely sleeping, her demeanor is composed, almost eerily calm, as she prepares to go to Memphis. The charter plane, arranged by Senator Kennedy, is scheduled to depart at first light. Around 5 o'clock in the morning, the household stirs awake again. A close family friend arrives to stay with the children. Coretta's parents are already en route from Alabama upon hearing the news, but until they arrive, trusted friends will watch over the children. She steps into each child's bedroom before leaving. She kisses a sleeping Bernice on the forehead, tucks Dexter's blanket around him, and whispers words of comfort to Marty, who wakes briefly and nods bravely at his mother. Yolanda, still in her mother's bed, sits up and clasps her hand tightly, not wanting her to leave. Coretta's heart wavers. The trauma of last night is fresh in Yolanda's eyes. Kneeling, she cups her daughter's face.
I have to go bring Daddy home, Yolanda,
She says gently. Yolanda's chin quivers, but she musters courage.
Okay, Mama.
She whispers, voice hoarse.
Come back soon. We will be waiting.
Coretta hugs her fiercely.
I will. And I need you to help look after your brothers and sister. All right?
Yolanda manages a small, determined nod. Even at 12, she mirrors her father's strength. Outside, a black car with a police escort idles at the curb in the cool dawn drizzle. As Coretta emerges from the house, she pauses. The city of Atlanta stretches before her, quiet but heavy with grief. In the distance, suddenly, the soft toll of a church bell breaks the silence. Then another, and another. Each peal echoes like a somber heartbeat in the pre-dawn air. Coretta closes her eyes and allows herself a brief moment to absorb the sound. He is gone, the bells seem to say. He is gone. Yet their unified ringing also carries a message of respect and resolve, a call to prayer, a call to action. In that moment, she feels the embrace of an entire community in mourning. She steels herself and descends the steps. Neighbors have gathered on the sidewalk despite the early hour. Some reach out to squeeze her hand or touch her arm as she passes.
We love you, Mrs. King.
An elderly neighbor whispers, tears in his eyes. Coretta offers a gracious, if faint, smile. She climbs into the car, escorted by a colleague from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. As the car pulls away, flanked by flashing police motorcycles, the sun is just beginning to rise over Atlanta, painting the rain clouds with streaks of gold. The bells of morning continue to toll, mixing with the wail of a distant siren. Coretta gazes out the window at the city streets, normally bustling, now eerily still. Here and there, small clusters of people stand on verandas or street corners, heads bowed or fists raised in grief and solidarity. The news is fully out. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has been assassinated. The driver navigates through the downtown streets toward the airport. On one corner, she notices a group of men lowering an American flag to half-mast outside a federal building. On another, a line of school children in coats stand silently, some crying as their teacher leads them in an impromptu hymn. The weight of these sights presses on her chest. She realizes that her personal loss is also a public tragedy. The world is grieving Martin with her. How will we all go on? She wonders. But as quickly as the question arises, an answer comes in the form of Martin's own words, echoing in her memory.
No matter what happens, keep the movement going.
She hears his steady baritone in her mind, urging resilience. She draws a deep breath and straightens her shoulders.
I will keep it going, Martin. We will not let the dream die.
Her journey to Memphis is a blur of sorrow and surreal calm. The private plane arranged by Robert Kennedy carries her, Christine King Ferris, Martin's sister, and a small group of family and aides to Tennessee. During the flight, Coretta sits quietly by a window, hands clasped tightly in her lap. She gazes at the clouds, replaying memories of Martin, his laughter at the breakfast table just a week ago, his goodnight kiss to the children, the way he bowed his head in prayer each evening. It is hard to fathom that he is gone from this world. In her purse, she carries a black ribbon for his coffin and a copy of scripture to read for strength. A gentle squeeze of her hand pulls her from her reverie. Christine offers a sad smile, silently reassuring her she is not alone on this daunting trip. She returns the squeeze gratefully. They are two women bound by love and grief for the same man, and together they will do what must be done. When the plane lands in Memphis, she feels her stomach tighten. Only yesterday Martin stood on this soil, alive. Now she must leave this city with him in a coffin. At the airport, officials and friends guide her to the waiting hearse that has come from the local funeral home. The sky is overcast and the air heavy. For a moment she hesitates to step off the plane. Christine later recalls that she could not force herself to set foot in the place where her brother was murdered, but Coretta summons her courage. She descends the steps and is met by Reverend Ralph Abernathy and other members of SCLC who had been in Memphis with Martin. Abernathy's face is etched with pain as he embraces Coretta. No words are needed. The look in his eyes says everything: sorrow, shock, and a promise to stand by her. Coretta insists on seeing her husband. In a quiet room at the funeral home, she is led to Martin's body, which has been placed in a simple wooden coffin for transport. Her breath catches at the sight of him. Martin's face, so familiar and beloved, lies serene and still. There is a small bandage on his jaw and another at his neck covering the wound. His hands are at his sides, those hands that wrote mighty words and gently cradled their children. She feels her composure wavering. She reaches into the coffin with trembling fingers and touches his still hand. It is cold. The reality hits like a thunderbolt. He is truly gone. Fresh tears spill as she softly calls his name.
Martin.
In that private moment, she allows herself to weep openly, bending over to kiss his forehead. She whispers, a promise only he and God can hear.
I will continue your work, Martin. Your dream will live on.
She places the black ribbon she brought across his folded arms, a symbol of mourning and of honor. Family and friends encircle her quietly from a distance, giving her time. Finally, Abernathy gently rests a hand on her shoulder, and she knows it is time to take him home. The coffin is draped with a simple cloth and carefully loaded into the cargo hold of the plane. Coretta watches, dry-eyed now, her tears seemingly spent for the moment. She stands straight, hands clasped, as an honor guard of Memphis police officers, who have volunteered as a mark of respect, give a slow salute while the coffin is borne onto the plane. It is a quiet, somber scene. No crowds, just a handful of officials and friends under the dull afternoon sky. In the distance, the flag over Memphis City Hall flutters at half-mast. She silently boards the plane after her husband's coffin. The door closes behind her, separating them from the city where he drew his last breath. As the plane's engines roar to life, she closes her eyes and prays for deliverance home. That afternoon in Atlanta, the skies have cleared to a pale, chilly blue as the chartered flight touches down. Waiting on the tarmac are Mayor Ivan Allen Jr. and Vice Mayor Sam Massel, along with a few close friends and a hearse to convey the body. When she steps out of the plane, the wind catches her veil, lifting it momentarily to reveal the resolve on her tear-stained face. The mayor approaches and takes her hand as she descends the steps, steadying her. He and Massel quietly offer condolences once more. She nods appreciatively but speaks little. Her focus shifts to the aircraft's open cargo hatch, where several men, their movements reverent, unload the coffin. For a fleeting second, she imagines this is all a terrible mistake, that any moment he will emerge from the plane himself, flashing that gentle smile, alive and well. But reality is made of wood and brass handles, covered in a plain cloth. As the coffin is placed into the waiting hearse, she steps forward. She lays her palm on its surface, feeling the hardness of it, and closes her eyes. He is home now. A fresh wave of grief and love washes over her, but she remains outwardly composed. Reporters at the edge of the tarmac snap photographs, capturing the anguished determination on her face. In that image, the world will later see a widow bearing the weight of a nation's loss, yet unbroken. Under police escort, the funeral procession departs the airport. Coretta rides behind the hearse with Christine and Mayor Allen. They travel in silence through Atlanta's streets toward a funeral home on Butler Street. Word has spread that Dr. King's body is returning home. Along the route, clusters of people stand by the roadside to pay respects. Some wave small black memorial flags, others simply stand with heads bowed or hands over their hearts as the motorcade passes. At one intersection, a group of school children, just let out from classes, hold up hand-drawn signs that read, "We love you," and "Honor King." The sight draws a faint smile from Coretta's weary face. She knows Martin's legacy lives in these children who saw him as a hero. When they arrive at the funeral home, she supervises as the coffin is carefully lifted out and prepared for public viewing in the coming days. She insists on one last private moment. In the hushed parlor, she stands over the coffin, adjusting the cloth and ribbon adorning it. The funeral director assures her that they will have him embalmed and dressed in his best pastor's suit for the viewing. She thanks him softly. Placing a hand on the coffin one last time, she whispers,
"Rest now, Martin. You are home."
It is both a goodbye and a benediction. She forces herself to turn and walk away, supported on each side by her sister-in-law and a friend. Outside, dusk is falling. Atlanta's streetlights blink on, and the first stars appear. It is the end of an awful 24 hours, but the beginning of a new chapter, one Coretta never wanted, but is resolved to face. That night, Atlanta remains miraculously calm. Unlike other cities, which are erupting in anger and riots at the news of King's assassination, Atlanta, Martin's birthplace, stays largely peaceful. Much of that peace is owed to community leaders and Martin's own message of nonviolence. Coretta takes a moment to acknowledge this. It is as if the city itself is honoring him by heeding his call for dignity and love. She draws comfort from the civility around her amid the chaos elsewhere. Exhausted, she returns home to be with her children, who leap into her arms the moment she walks through the door. They cling to her as though she might disappear too. She holds them and whispers soothing words. We have a long journey ahead, she thinks as she gazes at their innocent faces, but we will walk it together. Tomorrow and the next day will bring new challenges. Visitors, condolences, funeral arrangements, and beyond that, a life to rebuild. Yet in her darkest hour, she feels the flicker of purpose. Martin's voice is gone, but hers will remain, and she knows she must use it to carry on his work. 4 days later, on April 8, 1968, she finds herself back in Memphis, the city that is now etched into her heart as the place of her husband's martyrdom. Dressed in deep black mourning attire and a dark veil that frames her dignified face, she walks at the head of a massive column of marchers. More than 20,000 people have gathered to honor Martin by completing the march he had planned to lead for the city's striking sanitation workers. Coretta's children walk alongside or just behind her. Yolanda, Marty, and Dexter are here, each holding a small sign that reads, "Honor King, End Racism," or "I Am a Man." 5-year-old Bernice stays in Atlanta with family, deemed too young for the lengthy march. As they move through Memphis's downtown streets, a profound silence envelopes the procession. This is a silent march, out of respect for Martin. No chants, no songs, only the rhythmic shuffling of feet and the occasional sob from someone in the crowd. Many carry signs echoing his messages. Many more simply carry his photograph pinned to their chest. Coretta's heart swells with a mixture of sorrow and pride as she leads the way. On either side of the street, National Guardsmen stand at attention, rifles in hand and bayonets fixed, perched on armored vehicles and tanks. Helicopters hover above as a precaution. The last time Martin led a march here, it had erupted into chaos. Authorities are determined to prevent that today. But there is no chaos now, only a sea of humanity moving with one purpose and one spirit. Coretta feels the presence of Martin's spirit in the quiet determination of the crowd. She walks with her back straight, holding Yolanda's hand. Every step is a testament. We will not be turned around by fear. The march winds its way to City Hall. At the front, Coretta, flanked by Reverend Ralph Abernathy and union leaders, climbs a small platform erected for concluding remarks. She casts her eyes over the throng, thousands upon thousands of faces of all colors, stretching as far as she can see. Many are tear-stained, all are earnest. These people love Martin too. In the front, a line of sanitation workers in their work clothes hold their "I Am a Man" signs proudly. Her throat tightens at the sight. Martin had given his life supporting these very men's struggle for dignity. Now here they stand, saluting him. Taking a deep breath, she steps to the microphone. A hush falls, even deeper than the silence before. For a moment, her composure nearly falters. The weight of speaking where Martin should have been speaking is almost too much. But then she notices little Dexter at her feet, looking up at her with trusting eyes, and Yolanda gently squeezing her hand, and she remembers her vow. In a clear, steady voice, she addresses the crowd.
My husband once said that if a man has nothing worth dying for, he is not fit to live. He gave his life for the poor of the world, the garbage workers of Memphis, and for a vision of justice and equality.
Murmurs of assent ripple through the crowd. She continues, her voice strengthening as she speaks of Martin's redemptive life and the need to continue his fight. She urges the crowd to honor his memory by pressing forward with nonviolence and determination to
transform this society, to truly honor Martin by ending racism and uplifting the poor.
Her words ring out over the plaza, and those gathered find themselves nodding, many with fists gently raised in resolve. Tears stream down her face as she concludes.
Martin lives on in all of us who believe in what he stood for. Together, we will see the promised land he saw.
The crowd erupts, not in cheers, it is a memorial after all, but in a powerful unified chorus of "Amen" and restrained applause. In that moment, those present witness a transformation. Coretta Scott King, in the depth of her grief, has risen to assume the mantle of leadership. Her quiet courage and composure instill renewed pride and resolve in the movement. Observers later note that seeing her strength on this day helped calm a nation on edge. As riots and fires had consumed other cities in the days after Martin's death, the sight of his widow leading peacefully, flanked by her young children, provided a desperately needed image of hope and resilience. When the march ended, she was physically and emotionally spent. Yet she found time to meet with some of the Memphis sanitation workers, grasping their hands and offering condolences to them for the loss of their champion. The workers, in turn, pledged to continue the strike until they won the dignity Martin fought and died for. She knows Martin would be proud of them and of her. As she leaves Memphis once again, this time with her children at her side and her husband's mission in her heart, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. Just days ago, she did not know how she could go on. Now, buoyed by collective love and purpose, she felt a cautious sense of peace. The road ahead would be long and lonely at times, but she was not alone. She had her children, her faith, and an army of supporters who shared Martin's dream. She would lead them forward. That night, back in Atlanta, she tucked her children into bed in the very home where, just 4 nights prior, their worlds had collapsed. Dexter asked in a sleepy voice if Daddy knew that they marched for him. Coretta smoothed his blanket and replied softly,
"I'm sure he does, sweetheart. And I know he is proud of all of us."
She turns off the light and closes the door on her children's room, her heart heavy yet hopeful. In the darkness of her own bedroom, she allows herself a final cathartic cry, face buried in Martin's pillow that still faintly carries his scent.
"I miss you."
She whispers into the silence. But as she closes her eyes, another sound drifts through the open window, the distant tolling of church bells across Atlanta, marking the hour. Each bell chime reminds her of that early morning promise she made to him and the vow she renewed in Memphis. "We will carry on, Martin." She lies down, hands clasped over her heart. Tomorrow, the eyes of the world will be upon Atlanta as they lay Martin to rest. She will have to rise and be strong once more, for her family, for the movement, for Martin. For now, just a few hours before dawn, she lets the steady cadence of the bells and the cool spring breeze lull her aching heart. As she drifts into a light sleep, she is at peace in the knowledge that even in death, Martin's spirit is alive in the cause, and she is prepared, with God's help, to carry that spirit forward. She will not let him down. On the morning of April 9th, 1968, the city of Atlanta is in mourning. Dawn's warm and bright, but a solemn hush hangs in the spring air. Ebenezer Baptist Church is filled to overflowing with mourners from around the world. Beneath the high arched ceiling, sunlight filters through stained glass windows, casting jeweled colors onto a sea of grief-stricken faces. At the front of the church, on a bier draped in flowers, lies a simple mahogany coffin. Inside rests Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., peaceful in eternal sleep. The church is silent except for the faint sobs and the rustling of tissue. Then, a single clear voice rises. Mahalia Jackson, Martin's dear friend and favorite gospel singer, begins to sing, "Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on, let me stand." Her rich, soulful contralto fills every corner of Ebenezer, at once heartbreaking and comforting. The hymn's notes float upward like a prayer. This was Martin's favorite hymn, the one he had requested just before he was taken out, and now it is sung in his honor. Sitting in the front pew, Coretta closes her eyes as Mahalia's voice washes over her. Dressed in deep black, a thin veil covering her face, she is the picture of grace amid grief. Her back is straight, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. As the lyrics pour out, "I'm tired, I'm weak, I am worn." She feels each word resonate in her soul. She is tired, so tired, and weak, and worn to the bone with sorrow. A lone tear slips from her eye and trails down her cheek beneath the veil. She does not wipe it away. She lets the music carry her for a moment. In her mind, she drifts to a memory. Martin humming this very hymn softly in the kitchen one Sunday morning, spinning little Bernice in his arms while breakfast sizzled on the stove. The memory squeezes her heart. She exhales shakily and opens her eyes, staring at the coffin just a few feet away. It still does not seem real that her Martin is in there, that his warm, booming voice has been stilled forever. Beside her, their 4 children sit close, Yolanda presses against her mother's side, face swollen from days of crying. Martin III and Dexter fidget with the uncomfortable awareness that their father is in that box at the altar. Little Bernice, perched on her Aunt Christine's lap, is too young to fully grasp why everyone is so sad. She swings her legs gently, clutching a small doll, her round eyes fixed on Mahalia Jackson. Coretta wraps an arm around Yolanda and reaches out to hold her son's hands. They each cling to their mother's gloved fingers. In the pew behind them, a host of dignitaries and loved ones, Ralph Abernathy, Jesse Jackson, Jackie Kennedy, Vice President Hubert Humphrey, all sit in respectful silence. Some bow their heads, overcome with emotion as Mahalia's hymn continues. When Mahalia Jackson sustains the final note of "Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home," a wave of weeping sweeps through the congregation. Coretta draws a deep breath, steadying herself. She whispers, "Thank you, Mahalia," from her seat, voice too low to be heard except by her children. But in her heart, she knows Mahalia's song has reached the heavens, and she believes. Martin's listening soul. The Reverend Dr. Benjamin Mays, Martin's longtime mentor, steps to the pulpit to deliver a powerful oration. Coretta listens as Dr. Mays speaks of Martin's sacrifices, of his dedication to justice even unto death. Dr. Mays's voice echoes,
"If death had to come, I am sure there was no greater cause to die for than fighting to get a just wage for garbage collectors."
Glancing over at Coretta and the children, Coretta feels a swell of pride and pain. She bites the inside of her cheek to keep steady. When Dr. Mays finishes by urging everyone to carry on Dr. King's work, a murmur of amen ripples through the crowd. Coretta nods subtly. Yes, carry on his work. She has already resolved to do exactly that. At last, the service ends. It is time to take Martin to his final resting place. Pallbearers gently lift the coffin as the organ begins a soft, mournful rendition of "We Shall Overcome." Coretta rises slowly, each movement deliberate and dignified. She takes Yolanda's hand in her left and little Dexter's in her right. The family gathers tightly around her, a solemn phalanx of grief and love. Together they step into the aisle behind the coffin. The congregation stands as one, many reaching out to touch her shoulder or whisper blessings as she passes. Through her veil, her face is calm, almost regal. Only those nearest can see the tears still glistening on her cheeks. Outside, a hush falls over the tens of thousands of mourners crowding Atlanta's streets. It is an extraordinary sight. Black and white, young and old, poor and rich, all gathered in unity to honor Martin. The April sun glares high in a powder blue sky. Many have been waiting for hours along the funeral procession route, and some women fan themselves against the heat. But as Coretta and her children emerge from the church, any restless shuffling ceases. An immense, reverent silence blankets the crowd. At the curb, a humble wooden farm wagon awaits, hitched to a pair of mules decorated with black ribbons. Upon this wagon, Martin's coffin is placed, not in a gleaming hearse, but on the kind of simple cart used by the poor of the land. It was Coretta's decision, a final tribute to her husband's solidarity with the common people. Now, seeing the plain wagon with its solemn burden, a fresh ache blooms in her chest. He would have appreciated this simplicity, she reflects, recalling Martin's oft-spoken wish for a humble funeral. With a gentle cluck from the mule driver, the wagon lurches into motion. The funeral procession begins its slow journey through Atlanta. Coretta leads her children behind the wagon, walking as she had just a day before in Memphis, slowly, deliberately, each step an act of will. The crowd falls in behind them, an endless river of humanity. Over 100,000 mourners follow the mule-drawn coffin through the streets. Many sing as they walk, their voices rising in a sorrowful unity. Soon, the strains of "We Shall Overcome" carry on the breeze. The same anthem Coretta had heard countless times beside Martin now becomes a lullaby for his departure. As she walks, she keeps her chin uplifted, eyes forward. Her veil flutters with each step. The sun beats down on the procession, making the pavement shimmer. Sweat beads under her gloves, but she hardly notices. Her mind drifts in the cadence of the march. Each footstep seems to jar loose a memory. Martin laughing as he played with the kids on the living room floor. Martin bent over his desk late at night, writing a speech. Martin's arms around her, slow dancing in the kitchen to no music. A faint smile ghosts across her lips at the tender recollections, but it vanishes quickly, replaced by the crushing reality that those moments are now forever past. She feels a small hand squeeze hers. It is Yolanda, looking up with tears in her eyes. Coretta squeezes back gently.
Stay strong, baby,
she whispers. Yolanda nods, trying to be brave. On Coretta's other side, little Dexter stumbles on a crack in the sidewalk. Before he can fall, Uncle Ralph Abernathy, walking nearby, catches the boy's arm and steadies him. Abernathy offers Coretta a supportive nod, his own eyes red. She musters a grateful look. Surrounding them are other stalwarts of the movement, Andrew Young, Jesse Jackson, John Lewis, all marching in grief, yet with determination. She realizes they are looking to her now. In this darkest hour, she has become a figure of stoic courage for them. The thought is daunting, but it also fortifies her resolve. Halfway along the route, the wagon slows. The crowd hushes further as she is invited to step forward and address the crowd. She hesitates, momentarily uncertain if she has the strength. But then she remembers Martin's unwavering courage and the promise she made to him silently. With a deep breath, she lifts her veil from her face. A collective gasp ripples through those nearest, seeing her tear-stained yet composed countenance fuels both their sorrow and their resolve. Her voice, when it comes, is clear and steady, despite the quaver of emotion.
My husband's struggle lives on in us all.
The portable microphone amplifying her words over the crowd.
Martin gave his life for justice. It is up to each of us to carry that torch now.
A wave of amen and cries sweeps through the assembly. Many weep openly at her words, but within the weeping is a new determination. Observing the sea of faces, black, white, men, women, children, Coretta feels Martin's spirit moving among them. They are listening, Martin. They will carry on. As she steps back, a gentle breeze stirs, lifting a corner of her veil and drying one of her tears. She closes her eyes briefly. In that breeze, she imagines she feels Martin's hand brushing her cheek. It lasts only a second, but it leaves her with an unexpected sense of peace. The procession continues to Southview Cemetery, where Martin will be laid to rest. By the time they arrive, the sun is beginning to dip, casting long shadows across the green grounds. A smaller, more intimate group gathers around the grave, family, closest friends, and colleagues, while the larger crowd hangs back along the cemetery lanes, singing softly. The coffin is lifted from the wagon and placed over the open grave. Coretta stands at the gravesite with her children clustered around her skirts. The hole in the earth gapes, ready to receive its own. Coretta feels another surge of unreality. How can I let him go? Her heart cries, how can I possibly say goodbye? A minister begins to recite final prayers in a low, reverent tone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Coretta listens, arms wrapped protectively around her children. Yolanda holds a single white rose, plucked from one of the wreaths, her face wet with tears. At a gentle nod from Aunt Christine, Yolanda steps forward and with a trembling hand sets the rose on top of her father's coffin.
Goodbye, Daddy,
she whispers, voice cracking. Coretta feels something break inside her all over again. She hugs Yolanda tightly as the girl returns, sobbing into her mother's skirt. One by one, the two boys also approach. Young Martin III's small chest heaves with contained sobs as he stands over the coffin. He bites his lip hard, a brave little man trying not to cry.
Bye, Daddy.
He manages, then quickly retreats to cling to Uncle Martin, Senior Martin's father, who is nearby, weeping silently for his slain son. Dexter, only 7, does not fully understand. He simply places a kiss on his palm and lays it on the wooden lid, as if leaving a kiss for his father to carry to heaven. Even some of the hardened men present have to turn away, overcome by emotion at the sight of the grieving children. Finally, it is Coretta's turn. She realizes she has been holding her breath. Gently, she passes baby Bernice to Aunt Christine. The little girl fusses, reaching for her mother, but Coretta knows she must do this herself. She steps forward to the brink of the grave. The rectangular pit seems bottomless, a dark yawning chasm that threatens to swallow her heart. The polished coffin rests on straps, ready to be lowered. She lays a trembling hand on the wood. It is warm from the sun. For a moment, she imagines Martin lying just on the other side of that wood, peaceful, as if asleep. The urge to collapse on the coffin and wail almost overtakes her, but she steels herself, determined to remain composed in his honor. She closes her eyes and bows her head over the coffin, one hand still flat on its surface. In a voice quavering but audible, she speaks her final goodbye.
Martin, my love, rest now.
Her words are tender, meant for him alone. Tears slip out from under her lashes.
You have done so much, and I am so proud of you.
Her shoulders shake, but she continues, her voice gaining strength.
Don't worry about us. I will raise our children to know their father was a hero.
She takes a breath that catches in her throat.
Your dream will live on. I swear to you today, Martin, I will carry it forward. I won't let it die, not ever.
As she utters this vow, she feels a strange calm descend upon her. The sobs around her seem to fade to the background. In the silence of her soul, she senses Martin's presence, a comforting warmth amid the cool spring breeze. It is as if he has heard her promise and is smiling, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder one last time. She lifts her head and brushes her fingers lovingly over the coffin, as though caressing Martin's face through the wood.
I love you,
she whispers softly. Then, reluctantly, she steps back. Two cemetery workers begin to turn the winch, and with creaking ropes, the coffin is slowly lowered into the earth. She stands tall, one arm around her eldest daughter and the other around her eldest son, as they watch their father's coffin disappear, inch by inch. Little Dexter hides his face in his mother's dress, unable to look. Coretta feels Yolanda tremble and squeezes her tight. The metallic clank of the straps releases, and the coffin settles with a dull thud at the bottom of the grave. A collective sob rises from the assembled family, and Coretta's composure nearly breaks. She covers her mouth with her black-gloved hand, tears streaming as the finality hits. He is gone from this world. In the distance, the crowd has started singing, "We Shall Overcome." Once more, the hymn floating gently over the cemetery. Their voices are soft, almost a lullaby now. Deep in my heart, I do believe. The words carry hope even in this moment of despair. Coretta lets those notes shore up her spirit. She straightens her spine again, lifting her chin. Through her tears, she begins to sing quietly along. We shall overcome someday. Her voice is fragile but steady. Those nearest her join in, including the children, as best as their hiccuping sobs allow. When the song ends, the crowd falls respectfully silent. Under the bright afternoon sun, Coretta takes one last look into the grave that holds her beloved. A gentle breeze rustles the new green leaves in the trees, and somewhere a bird chirps a tentative melody. Life, it seems, is continuing all around them. She inhales and lets the breath out slowly. Though grief will remain in her heart, she now also carries something else, a mantle of responsibility, a purpose. Martin's torch has passed into her hands. With her children gathered around her, she steps away from the gravesite. Every step is heavy, but purposeful. Family and friends close in to embrace her, offering murmured condolences and prayers. She accepts them with grace, offering quiet thanks, even as her mind drifts to the path ahead. In the coming days, she will have to be stronger than she ever imagined. She will march, she will speak, she will lead, because Martin can't. As the family slowly departs the cemetery, she pauses and looks back one more time. The grave diggers stand ready to fill in the earth, but they wait for the widow's departure. The coffin is no longer visible, only a rectangle of raw dirt in the green ground marked by flowers. A ray of late-day sunshine breaks through the clouds, illuminating motes of dust in the air. It falls directly across the grave like a gentle benediction. Coretta feels a pang of sorrow so deep she fears it will stop her heart, but she places a hand over her chest and feels it still beating.
I'm alive. I must go on.
She turns back and sees her children watching her expectantly, their faces blotchy but hopeful that Mama will guide them through this. She musters a reassuring smile for them, a smile through tears. Then, with dignity, she leads her family away from the gravesite. Each child holds on to her, and she to them, a chain of love and loss. The crowd parts to let them through, many reaching out to touch her arm or whisper, "We are with you." Though her eyes are wet and her steps slow, she nods to them, silently grateful. She knows she does not walk alone. An entire people marches with her now, and Martin's spirit marches beside them. As they leave the cemetery, the sun begins to set in fiery hues of orange and purple, another day ending. For her, this day has been the hardest of her life, a day of unspeakable sorrow. But it has also been a day of affirmation, of Martin's impact, of the love of thousands, and of the passing of the torch to her. Wiping a final tear from under her veil, she breathes in the mild April air. Despite the grief that will live in her heart forever, she feels a spark of determination glowing within.
Come on, children,
She says softly, gathering the little ones around her. They walk on, one family united in loss and resolve. Behind them, Atlanta's streetlights flicker on as dusk falls, and the city begins to sing Martin Luther King's favorite hymn once more. The words, "Precious Lord, take my hand," echo into the twilight, a gentle coda to a life that changed the world. She lifts her eyes to the darkening sky, where the first stars are appearing. "Good night, my sweet Martin," she thinks, sending up a silent prayer. "Your journey here is done, but I will continue your fight. Your dream will live on." In the silent answer of her soul, she hears his voice on the breeze, in every soft amen of the crowd, and in the steady heartbeat of her own courageous heart. The flame has passed, and Coretta Scott King walks forward into history, bearing the light of her fallen king, determined to keep it shining, come what may. How exactly did Coretta enable Martin to achieve such historic fate? What role did she play as a partner through the trials of the civil rights era and beyond? Here at the Kingmakers podcast, we look for patterns, recurring themes in how supportive partners uplift great leaders. In Coretta's case, I like to call her pattern the steady flame. The steady flame is the partner who provides unwavering light and warmth through the darkest times, keeping the flame of purpose burning steady when storms rage. She exemplified this pattern with extraordinary consistency and grace. Let's break down what that meant in her relationship with Martin. First, from the very beginning, she was all in for the mission she shared with him. She gave up her own dream of a performing career to stand beside a Baptist preacher who had a nation to transform. That was not a one-time sacrifice, it was daily. Whether it was enduring constant death threats, or living on a modest pastor's salary instead of pursuing fame, her choices reflected a profound commitment. She embraced a life of uncertainty and danger so that he would not have to walk his path alone. When their home was bombed in Montgomery, she showed nerves of steel, calming their baby and then standing beside him as he urged peace to an angry crowd. Imagine the strength it took for a young mother to react that way. That is unwavering support in action. Her steadiness under pressure gave him the confidence to lead boldly. He knew that whatever happened, his wife had his back and would keep the home fires burning. This emotional safety net freed him to devote himself completely to the cause. For example, during the long nights when he was away in jail or traveling, she kept everything running, raising their 4 children, managing finances, relaying messages to movement colleagues, effectively doing the work of both parents. In 1961, when he was arrested in the brutally segregated town of Albany, Georgia, it was Coretta who fielded calls from the Kennedy administration that led to his release. She was his lifeline to the outside world whenever he was imprisoned. She endured loneliness, fear, and the overwhelming load of single parenting for the sake of the fight they both believed in. And she rarely, if ever, complained. He later acknowledged that without her sacrifice and resilience, he could not have carried on as long as he did. Second, she was not merely a passive supporter. She was an active shaper of their shared vision. She and Martin were deeply aligned on the principles of nonviolence, justice, and equality. Importantly, she also served as his moral compass and confidant. She had no qualms about challenging him if she felt he needed it. A notable example, she urged him to speak out against the Vietnam War well before it was popular for civil rights leaders to do so. She saw the connections between peace abroad and justice at home, and she nudged him to broaden his advocacy. Though some advisors worried it would dilute his focus, she was persistent, and he listened. In April 1967, when he finally took that stand, she was right there, validating his conviction. This pattern, a partner acting as a supportive challenger, ensured that he stayed true to his wider values, even when political winds blew harshly. She and Martin would spend long evenings discussing strategy and philosophy. She was not a yes person. She was a true intellectual partner. In private, if she thought he was straying from their principles or doubting himself, she would call him on it with love. That balance of loyalty and honesty is key to the steady flame pattern. Her commitment to nonviolence and human dignity never wavered, and it fortified his own resolve when he was tired or wavering. Third, and perhaps the most dramatic element of her steady flame role came after his death. When many would have been consumed by grief, she transformed her grief into purpose. In doing so, she preserved and magnified his legacy for future generations. The assassin's bullet could have ended the civil rights movement on April 4, 1968. But because she stood up and stepped forward immediately, the movement kept its momentum. By leading that Memphis march and continuing his work, she sent a message to friend and foe alike. The dream is alive, the flame still burns. She institutionalized his legacy through the King Center, ensuring his teachings would educate and inspire long after either of them were gone. She fought for the national holiday, which not only honors him but also recommits the nation to his ideals every year. In speeches across the world, she invoked his words while adding her own. She became, as some have called her, the keeper of the flame. It is no coincidence that in South Africa, when Nelson Mandela was freed, one of the first international figures to greet him was Coretta, standing for justice on another continent, a continuation of the flame across the globe. Through these efforts, she ensured that Martin's impact was not fleeting. A full generation after the civil rights era, children were learning "I Have a Dream" in school and celebrating MLK Day, all because she made sure the world did not forget. This aspect of the steady flame pattern is about legacy. A true partner does not just contribute during their loved one's life. They ensure that the work and values endure beyond it. She carried Martin's torch until her own last days, and then passed it on to their children and to all of us. She was instrumental in his rise and lasting influence precisely because she provided what he alone could not. When he was on the road mobilizing communities, she was keeping the home stable and the kids nurtured, providing him peace of mind. When he was silenced, whether by jail bars or finally by death, she gave the movement a voice. When doubt or fear crept in, she was the steady hand, the reassuring smile, the prayerful partner that rekindled his courage. And when history needed someone to define what Martin's life meant, she became that voice of interpretation and continuation. The steady flame pattern reminds us that behind many great changemakers, there is someone tending the light, ensuring it never goes out when winds howl. She kept his dream burning brightly through nights of despair, until together and even apart, they could carry it into a new dawn for the nation and the world. Now that we have identified the steady flame role Coretta played, let's translate her journey into lessons you can apply in your own life or relationships. Most of us, thankfully, will never face the kind of life and death struggle the kings endured. But the essence of their relationship holds powerful lessons for anyone seeking a strong, values-driven relationship. Let's draw out 3 specific actionable takeaways from their journey that you can apply to finding or becoming a supportive partner in your own life. The first lesson is to align on core values and purpose. One striking thing about Coretta and Martin is how deeply they shared the same vision. Both believed to their core in equality, justice, and nonviolence. This common purpose bound them together through victory and tragedy. You and your partner might not be leading a nationwide movement, but having a shared mission or compatible values is just as crucial for you. It might be a commitment to family and community, a creative passion, a faith, or simply a way of living kindly, something you both ardently believe in. When you and a partner are united by a big why, it creates a powerful bond. As Coretta and Martin showed, shared values can carry you through the toughest storms. Lesson for you: talk with your partner or potential partner about your core values and long-term goals. Do they resonate with theirs? Does your vision of the future align? Identifying a common purpose, or at least understanding and respecting each other's purpose, will form a rock-solid foundation for your relationship. And if you are single, reflect on what values you want to share with someone. As the kings demonstrated, a couple driven by the same higher purpose can weather almost any challenge and achieve incredible things together. The second lesson is stand together through adversity. Every relationship will face hardships, though hopefully not as extreme as bombs and assassination attempts. The kings teach us the value of unwavering support and loyalty when times get tough. Coretta could have crumbled or walked away after threats on her family's life, but she held firm, doubling down on her commitment to Martin and their cause. In turn, Martin drew strength from her steadiness and never forgot her sacrifices. They truly stood back to back against the world's challenges. Lesson for you: be the kind of partner who stays in the boat when the seas get rough. If your loved one loses a job, falls ill, or goes through a personal crisis, show up for them, wholly and compassionately. Sometimes support means taking action, like helping them sort out finances. Other times it means offering a shoulder to cry on, or defending your partner when they are not around. And equally, seek a partner who will stand by you when you are the one in the storm. Knowing you have each other's backs builds unshakable trust. The king's loyalty through the darkest of times exemplifies that real love is not just a fair-weather feeling, it is a choice to face life's storms together. The third lesson is enable each other's growth and legacy. A true kingmaker partner does not compete with their loved one's success. They celebrate it and contribute to it. Coretta was not threatened by Martin's prominence. She actively fueled it, even if it meant sometimes stepping back from her own spotlight. She also continued his legacy after his death, which is an ultimate act of love and loyalty. In healthy relationships, each person pushes the other to become the best version of themselves and takes pride in their partner's impact on the world. Lesson for you: look for a partner who will hype you up, support your aspirations, and also lovingly challenge you to live up to your ideals, and strive to be that champion for them. This might mean simple actions like encouraging them when they doubt themselves, or practical help like taking on extra chores so they can pursue a degree or career opportunity. It also means giving each other room to grow independently. Coretta and Martin both allowed one another to develop as leaders, She pursued her activism and music. He learned from her and welcomed her influence on his perspective. Ask yourself, how can I help my partner shine? As well as, does this person bring out the best in me? If both answers are yes, you are on the right track. When partners empower each other, their individual lights combine into something truly luminous that can illuminate far beyond the relationship itself. These three lessons, shared purpose, unwavering support, and mutual empowerment, are part of the legacy Coretta and Martin offer to us. We can apply them whether we are dating, married, or still searching for that special someone. Start small. Discuss your values on a deep level with someone you care about. Stand by a friend or partner who is going through a tough time this week, or cheer on a loved one's big goal with genuine enthusiasm. Over time, these practices become the bedrock of what I call kingmaker caliber relationships. Remember, you don't have to be leading a civil rights movement to be a hero in your relationship. By living these principles, you are quietly doing something revolutionary. You are proving that love, loyalty, and shared values can indeed change lives. Now, let's finish with a brief reflective exercise, our Values Minute, to connect Coretta's story to our own personal growth. I invite you now into our Values Minute, a short, heartfelt reflection to wrap up today's story. Take a deep breath with me. Inhale, exhale, and close your eyes if you can. Think about one core value that Coretta embodied. There are many: courage, loyalty, faith, but let's focus on grace. Grace is the ability to respond to hardship or hurt with dignity, forgiveness, and love. It is a calm strength in the face of chaos. Coretta's life was a masterclass in grace. When hatred and violence struck her family, she met it not with revenge, but with composure and resolve. She comforted frightened neighbors the night her home was bombed. She led tens of thousands in peaceful mourning after her husband was assassinated. Through immeasurable pain, she chose to carry herself with poise and compassion. Now, I want you to consider how grace plays a role in your relationships. Think of a challenge or conflict you have faced with someone you care about, perhaps a heated argument with a partner, a betrayal by a friend, or a stressful family situation. How did you respond? Was it with anger, blame, withdrawal, or did you find a way to inject understanding and patience into the situation? For the next 60 seconds, reflect quietly on this. How can I practice more grace in my relationships? Maybe it means pausing before reacting harshly the next time you are upset and trying to understand the other person's perspective. Maybe it is forgiving someone who apologized, truly letting go of that grudge so that the relationship can heal. It could be offering support to a loved one who is struggling, even if they have been irritable or distant. Grace might even mean extending compassion to yourself, recognizing your own imperfections, and choosing to learn rather than judge. Think about the insight you just had. Perhaps you recalled a time you showed grace and how it helped, or a time you wish you had shown more. Carry that thought with you as we conclude. If Coretta could transform her sorrow into strength and still greet the world with kindness, imagine what we can do with a bit more grace in our own lives. Grace does not mean weakness. It means choosing love over anger every time. It means holding on to hope and dignity even through storms. As we open our eyes now, take another deep breath and let the value of grace settle in your heart. Grace can be your quiet superpower in relationships, a way to diffuse tension, deepen understanding, and create a safe space for love to grow. In honoring Coretta's example, we honor our own capacity to grow closer through compassion. Now, let's quickly recap the insights from today's episode on Coretta Scott King. Lesson 1. Shared purpose binds you through any storm. We saw how Coretta and Martin's marriage was anchored by a mission far larger than themselves, a commitment to justice and equality. That common cause gave their love profound depth and resilience. It pulled them through bombings, imprisonment, and public vilification, because at the end of the day, they knew they were fighting side by side for the same dream. This reminds us that finding a partner who shares your core values or vision can create a bond that withstands great challenges. When two people rally around a shared why, they become a force of nature, as inseparable in purpose as they are in love. Lesson 2. True partners have each other's backs. A meaningful relationship is a partnership in the deepest sense. Coretta and Martin demonstrated this over and over. When one was weak, the other was strong. When Martin faltered under immense pressure, Coretta's unwavering support lifted him up. When he was taken out, she stepped forward to lead. They took turns carrying the banner, covering for each other's vulnerabilities. Their story shows that love is not just about affection, it is about solidarity. In our own lives, being ride or die for those we love, showing up in their dark moments, defending them, encouraging them, that is the true test of relationship. Knowing someone will stand by you through thick and thin builds a foundation of trust that nothing can easily shake. Lesson 3. Empower each other to be your best selves. The kings did not hold each other back. They pushed each other forward. Coretta often said she and Martin were co-workers in the movement. And it is true. She empowered him by contributing her talents and counsel, and he empowered her by valuing her voice and later enabling her to continue the work. A great relationship is one where both individuals help each other grow. We saw this in how Martin heeded Coretta's urgings on issues like peace, and how she blossomed into a global leader after his assassination, fulfilling her own potential. For us, this means that a healthy relationship is not a competition or a sacrifice of oneself for the other, but a mutual elevation. Each person says to the other, "I see the greatness in you, and I am here to nurture it." When you find someone who inspires you to become better and whom you can inspire in return, you have found a true gem. Lesson 4. Practice grace under pressure. In Coretta's memory, we examined how responding with grace, patience, forgiveness, dignity can transform our relationships. The way she handled tragedy taught us that we too can choose compassion over rage in our conflicts. By showing grace to our partners, friends, and family in tough times, we actually strengthen those bonds. And by expecting grace, meaning respect and understanding, as a standard in our relationships, we set a tone of mutual care. Attracting a partner who will treat us with that kindness begins with us living it. Grace under pressure is one of the secret ingredients of relationships that not only last, but also uplift everyone around them. What a journey. Thank you for traveling with me through the epic and heart-moving life of Coretta Scott King. Her story leaves us with so much to think about. Would you like to have your own Coretta in your life? That is, a partner who will stand by you, uplift you, and carry your dream forward when you stumble, or perhaps to be a Coretta for someone you love. Our mission at the African Caribbean Matchmaking Agency is to help you become the best version of yourself and connect you to a high-quality partner who shares your values and purpose. We believe everyone deserves a steady flame kind of love, and we are here to guide you on that journey. We have developed a masterclass on the art of choosing the right partner, packed with insights and practical tips for values-driven singles. It is essentially a deeper dive into the kinds of principles we touched on today, with exercises, examples from not just the Kings but many other remarkable couples, as well as findings from relationship psychology. You can sign up by clicking the masterclass link below this video or in the show notes. It is a great way to continue this journey of growth and reflection, and it is our way of helping as many people as possible build the foundations for healthy, lasting relationships. You may be listening and thinking, this all sounds great, and I am ready for that kind of meaningful relationship now. I just need some guidance tailored to me. If so, consider signing up for our Relationship Readiness Audit. That is a one-to-one session via Zoom with either me or a member of our coaching team. In that personal call, We will help you assess where you are on your journey and how to attract the partner who truly aligns with your purpose and values. It is a chance to talk through your specific situation, maybe past patterns that have not worked or challenges you are facing in finding the right person, and get some personalized feedback and next steps. Spots are limited since we dedicate focused time to each audit, so if it is something you want, do book your slot soon by clicking the audit link below. I want to stress, these resources are here as support, not a hard sales pitch. I genuinely believe that with the right tools and self-awareness, everyone can improve their odds of finding a fulfilling, soul-enriching relationship. And the more people who form strong, values-based relationships, the better our communities become. Healthy couples tend to do a lot of good around them. Look at the Kings. Their relationship did not just elevate them as individuals. It fueled a movement that awakened a nation's conscience and uplifted millions in their quest for equality. That is the ripple effect of a healthy, purpose-driven relationship. As we close, hold on to this thought. The story of Martin and Coretta reminds us that the right relationship does not hold you back. It helps you become more of who you are meant to be. Even under unimaginable pressure, their bond gave each of them courage and purpose. So, imagine for a moment what having that kind of partner could unlock in your life. Someone who sees your potential even when you doubt yourself. Someone who is not afraid to challenge you to live up to your values, yet stands by you at your lowest and celebrates you at your highest. What doors might open for you? In your career, in your personal growth, in your happiness? If you had a love like that, it is a beautiful vision, isn't it? And here is the key thing. It is not just for fairy tales or famous historical figures. It is something you can seek and build in your own life, step by step. We at the Kingmakers would love to help you get there. That is why you are here on this podcast, to learn from these stories and to apply the lessons. So, if today's episode spoke to you, consider taking that masterclass or booking a readiness audit, or simply start with a small step. Have a heartfelt conversation with someone you trust about what you learned from Coretta's story. Sometimes reflecting out loud with a friend or journaling about your own values can kickstart real change. Thank you sincerely for listening. I know this was a deep dive and an emotional one, and I appreciate you sticking with it to the end. I hope you found it as enriching and moving as I did. If you enjoyed today's story, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone who would love this message. Maybe even share it with the Martin to your Coretta, if you have found that person, or with a friend who is searching for their own king or queenmaker. On our next episode, we will explore another incredible kingmaker story. I won't spoil it fully, but here is a hint. We're traveling to India to meet a woman who stood beside a man that liberated a nation through nonviolence. It is a very different cultural context from the Kings, but equally rich in love, sacrifice, and lessons for us all. I promise it will be a fascinating tale that will inspire and enlighten. Until then, stay true to your values. Keep believing in the power of love and relationship. And remember, you have the power to make those around you kings and queens, just as they have the power to do the same for you. Keep an eye out for those rare people who try to lift you higher, and when you find them, treasure them. This is Romeo Richards, your host at the Kingmakers Podcast, signing off.